I'll tell you now. Okay, we're live, Jamila.
Okay, thanks, Anissa. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Shifting from a Space of Grace and Gratitude. And we're here, and it's another Friday already. I can't believe how the week has just gone by in a blink of an eye. But here we are, and I'd like to welcome our co-host, my co-host, the beautiful Anissa, who is not yet recovered from this terrible flu. How's it been going, Anissa?
I am struggling. I think I need the doctors now. It's now long enough. It's almost 10 days, I think, in
Hmm.
total. So I'm gonna have to get to doctors after this and just take better care of myself, I think.
I think you're needing an antibiotic.
An antibiotic, yeah, I think I need an antibiotic. I was pretty much lying flat most of this week and trying to show up and do what I need to do still amidst it
Yeah.
all, because that's we still got to do life in between it all.
No, I get that, but at some point, I think you have to draw the line and start taking
Yes.
care of you, and everything else has to really take a back seat. And without our health, we have
Yeah,
nothing else, right? And the thing is that now with the whole COVID issue, you don't know. You don't know what this is. You don't know how long
so
it's going to stay within your system. So I think best for you to get to the doctor. And I don't think this is going to the remedy for this is a warm, stony ginger beer with some med
no,
lemon. we've
clearly not.
we've
Clearly
passed
not.
that stage.
No, no, I think I need to definitely listen. I was supposed to attend a summit event yesterday for women in tech, and we had a gala evening, and I'm glad I listened to my body. I said, there's no way I can get there. And I
Yeah.
decided to just take rest and be in bed. Most of my morning I was actually in bed.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, it's important for us to realize when to listen to the body and to make that
Yes.
overriding decision, because our mind just says, just keep going, keep going, keep going. And then there comes a point where you're doing yourself more harm than good.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I know
Yeah.
our guest is running 10 minutes late.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll greet hello Robert and Oh Natural on the Instagram page. Thank you for joining. Um, I certainly am hoping that we're going to have our guest join soon. Maybe we
Yeah.
want to just talk about what the topic is for today.
I think so. Let me just read our short intro for this week's topic, and it is your self worth is your net worth, which is exactly, Anissa, I think last week's guest and this week's guest has been coming on for messages specifically for you to take heed of, because I think this is actually for you. And part of your self-worth is acknowledging when to take care of yourself and to stop existing in a state of overdrive all the time. And even though we feel that we can manage it and we can keep it together, we have to really sit down and speak to ourselves and just be more kind to ourselves. So let me just continue with this. Discover how your inner value shapes your financial and personal success. Uncover strategies to build confidence and unlock abundance. Learn how embracing self worth can transform your mindset, career, and relationships. This is so important, Anissa, because your self worth is literally like the foundation upon which we show up in our lives, isn't it? And like we say, it affects our personal success.
Mhm.
It affects our financial success. It just affects how you show up as the individual that you are. And if we lack the self worth, then we literally just saying to ourselves that you're not important.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone, everything else around you takes precedence over you. And yet, when we're off
Awesome.
the mindset that I am worthy, I am enough, I am worth this, I'm worth the effort, your life just takes a totally different trajectory. And this is a space where we feel like, wow, miracles do actually happen. But it's really not that. It's just about that positive mindset and honoring yourself.
I totally agree with that. In fact, it's the things we as coaches preach to our clients, and then sometimes we can't practice it ourselves.
Mhm.
But at the same time, when circumstances doesn't often allow or afford, when you don't have that support structure, you kind of just have to step in. But I suppose there are times that we can take that back seat and say, well, no, actually I can't, and just say no to everything else, because that means that your self-respect, I feel, is also connected to your self-worth and your self-acceptance and self-love. I think they're all interlinked in some shape or form.
Oh, you're back again.
Can you?
Yeah, it's actually about self-respect, isn't it?
Definitely, definitely. I lost you there for a moment.
Yes, yes, yeah. I was off for a bit, and like everything else, we overcome the challenges that present themselves to us. And I've been finding quite a bit of that going on this week. It's been one challenge after another. I seem to have lost you now, Anissa. But colleagues out there, how has
I'm
it been?
here. I'm here.
Oh, fantastic.
I just went
I'm
into a bit of a cough fit.
okay. All right. Well, we'll be expecting more of that, I guess, during the session, which is just fine. Because, as we said, this is the space where we celebrate life and we realize that life happens. So, not everything can be perfect at all times. And it's important for us to acknowledge and embrace the imperfections. But apart from embracing it for ourselves, it's important for us to be able to do this in a public setting as well, in a safe space like this, which is actually one of the objectives that we had when we first started this
Absolutely.
podcast, just to be here to show up as little old me and little old you, and to present ourselves in this way, because we have so many commonalities amongst all of us.
Mm,
And sometimes we're so afraid to show up as who we are because of all
mm.
the masks that we wear, because of all the labels that we attach to ourselves, and because of the um the perception of having to always seem perfect.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it becomes just so daunting and heavy
Mm.
a burden to carry. And it's just nice to be
I
able to,
agree.
yeah, it's nice to be in a space where you can just exhale and you know that you can show up as yourself, imperfections and all, and you still accept it, you still celebrate it. And you're doing it in company of people who will motivate you despite your imperfections. So I'm
Oh,
really
absolutely.
grateful. Yeah, I'm really grateful for this space. I must say that over the last year, because that's how long it's now almost been. November will be
Almost.
a. It's
Oh
it's
my
given
gosh.
me, yeah, it's given me this comfort, um, this sense of acceptance, and for me personally, I find that when I'm in this space, I find that it's safe enough for me to explore who I am. It's safe enough for me to put out there who I am, insecurities and all. And I
Mm.
know that it's not going to be taken in the wrong way or in a negative way, but rather in a space of acceptance and also support, allowing me to be it to draw from those around us to become better. I see Dedee's here and she's joined us. Welcome, Dedee.
Welcome, welcome, Didi.
Not sure that
Okay.
she can hear us. I don't
Mhm.
think she can hear us.
Yeah, are you on your do you have the speaker? I see you on mute now. Yeah, you got on mute.
I don't think she can hear us at all, Anissa. Oh, okay, she's gone. Maybe she's trying to come back on again.
And while we're waiting for, I think to that point, just to echo this, we always said we want to be authentic and real, and we never ever quite said that we're going to show up just to have a social media persona. So what you see is what you get with both myself and Jamila. We keep it real, we keep it raw, and we encourage the guests. And in fact, we don't even need to encourage the guests. What I have found so beautifully over the last year is that we have attracted guests that are very similar in the sense that they too are in their truth. They don't need to be wearing a particular mask or archetypal role when they are showing up here. They've walked a journey, they've gone through their own darkness, and really are quite in touch with themselves at the spiritual level, most of the guests that we've had on. So, very grateful for that aspect as well, which makes it easier for times like this.
It does, absolutely. And I was just having a chat with someone this morning and I was telling them about the type of guests that we've been attracting over the year. And they've all come from different diverse backgrounds. The commonality I find in the majority of them is that they've migrated from this corporate space and have now found their truth and their purpose in
Mm,
the consciousness and enlightenment space. And the wonderful thing about this is that, you know, we realize that finding your purpose is something that's so integral for
mm,
your fulfillment. And it's wonderful to see that so many people have found that purpose and they're making
agree.
such a huge positive influence and difference in so many different people's lives.
Absolutely. I agree. Can you hear us now, Didi? Uh, we hope you can hear, but we can't hear you. Can you hear us? No,
Anissa, maybe you just want to write in the chat um, that we can't hear her at all,
I will.
unfortunately. Mm.
Okay. Oops. Okay. So let's
Mm.
see what.
No, I don't think she can hear us, and we can't hear her either.
I can't seem to hear Didi at all either. Yeah, I'm hearing something like some sound that comes through, but I think it's maybe on your side.
I can't hear anything at all.
Okie dokes. What? Let's think about what it would the troubleshoot opportunity be here because at the moment she's on mute.
I wonder if
No, she's
she's
not on mute.
ringing from her laptop or from her phone. She's not
Let's
on mute
see. Let me
now.
ask her. She says she can't hear either of us and her mic is on. Are you able to? Maybe she uses some headphones. Maybe it will help. Let's see. So, Jamila, while we're trying to troubleshoot,
Shall
I
we
think at
go?
this one,
Shall we share
I'll,
the bio?
yeah, I think let's just share her bio while she's here and trying to get audio sorted.
Okay, shall I do it, Anissa? Because I know you're not
Yes, no,
in the.
I'm going to go into a cough fit.
Sure, no problem. Let me just pull up her bio. And let's try to get going. Okay, so Dedee Cai is the founder and a performance coach to Fit to Profit, a company that utilizes psychology, cognitive science, holistic wellness to help entrepreneurs get holistically fit to attain peak level of performance in their life and businesses. With over 15 years of experience in running her own businesses in the brick mortar health wellness industry, Dedee married her love for living an optimal lifestyle and business to create FTP. She believes that your self-worth is your net worth, and she's on a mission to empower women to live up to their own potential unapologetically while changing the world. There you go. I think we can finally got you on.
Oh my goodness. Yes. I love technology when it works. So I tune in now am from the phone, the mobile phone instead of the laptop. So we are making it work. Thank you so much for being patient with me. And yes, indeed, we are here. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Fantastic. Welcome, welcome. We're glad to have you.
I am very excited and truly honored to be here and having this conversation with you ladies. So thank you. Thank you.
Yes,
Dedee, tell
welcome.
us where you're calling in from. Where do you hail from? Which
Yeah,
part of the
so
world?
I am tuning in from Sarasota, Florida.
Mhm.
Yes, it has been quite an experience living here in this side of the world.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wonderful. We're both in South Africa. I'm in Cape Town and Jamila
Mm.
is in Johannesburg.
Oh, wow. I have a good friend of mine is from South Africa as well. Her whole family's here now, but she still has a property there. They actually visit every year to see her. That's where her dad, where they buried her dad. So that's where she's from. And I hear it's a beautiful place.
It's
Well, you'll have to
gorgeous. It's fantastic.
for yourself.
What's that?
You're gonna have to come and have a look for yourself.
Yes, indeed. It is on my list. Yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So
Yes.
I think what we normally do at the end is we say to guests we're going to be running a conference, a speaking conference here in 2025. So now you can make it that it's on your bucket list for 2025. We hope to see you here at the conference
Oh my
that we
goodness.
want to have.
Please, yes, keep me posted, please, with the dates and all of the things. I would love more details. Yes.
Definitely, definitely. Jamila is on my radar to have a conversation with so we can iron out all these finer details for next year and start the planning.
Okay. All right. Sounds so exciting, ladies. Yeah.
That's amazing. So, Dedee,
So,
we have your bio, and we've introduced you already to the guests. And as we said before, thank you so much for taking this time to spend with us. And we are so looking forward to listening to your story and what you have to offer. And Anissa, I'm not sure, but without further ado, shall we just hand it over to Dedee and
absolutely.
yeah, and listen to what it is that you do.
Yeah, what I want to ask Didi to start with is really where this concept about self-worth is your net worth stem from. What is the story behind that?
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. So, honestly, why I'm even sitting in front of you today has been truly a personal journey. I don't recall wanting to even be in business. So I fell into business because of an opportunity, as a family opportunity, to be in partnership with my mom. Honestly, that was the start of all of it. And when I first started, I didn't have any experience to be in business at all, but I took the opportunity anyway, with the trust that I'm building the American dream, right? And so anyone who is in the States, especially I'm the first generation immigrant, being able to do that is the ultimate goal for everyone. Long story short, that opportunity came to an end because I found myself completely burnt out after 5 years I was drained emotionally, physically, spiritually, and also honestly burnt out to where I was also in the verge of not really knowing what I should do with the rest of my life. And in that experience, I also experienced a life tragedy, which I would never want anyone to go through, is losing my best friend to a suicide the week of my wedding. I share that with the intention to allow everyone to see that every obstacle is an opportunity. Because of that experience, it was honestly a blessing in disguise for me, because my girlfriend didn't see herself the way we saw her. And we wanted her to really see her beautiful self, confident self, and etc. Her death also put a light on my life. I also not only was burnt out from my business, but I also was suffering from anxiety and depression as well, just like her. And the story starts from there, where I really vowed to myself that no one should ever go through what I had to go through that week. And then also, I have the responsibility now to first and foremost want to help other women who are going through the same overcome whatever challenges, seeing themselves the way others see them, and to be confident from the inside out. So I had the urge then, the calling to start healing myself first. And honestly, that's how everything started for me. I realized that one of the reasons why I got burnt out from my business is because I didn't feel like I deserved to be successful. And the root to it all was the reason why I didn't feel like I deserved to be successful, because I didn't feel I was worthy enough to be successful. And I didn't really understand the words, or really put everything together in perspective, that I was not confident in myself because I didn't feel worthy, honestly, until about 10 years ago, when I was recovering from my burnt out, learning more about myself, etc., and how I was always running with a belief system that I'm not good enough. I have to always do more. I always have to prove myself, etc., and things like that. But the minute I decided I was going to heal myself, I started developing a foundation for how I was going to take care of myself. And it starts with taking care of myself on a physical level, and then emotional level, physical, and then also spiritual. And that's how everything started for me. And truly, as I continue my business, and next year will be 10 years in business, I realize that as I grow in business, it's the reason is I've been investing in myself, and will really truly believe that I'm worthy of my own success, and just working through the levels. And that's why I want to have this conversation with all the women out there, is to really see what it is that you are able to create in your life is because you feel worthy enough. For example, personally, my parents were divorced. So in my mind, I always thought that, divorced kids always end up being divorced for a long time. I didn't think I was deserving enough to get married. I had to work through that. Then I said, no, that's their story, not mine. I deserve to be married. I deserve to be happily married. And indeed, I've been married for 17 years now. So everything that we think that we are worthy of is what we get to create. And so the conversation gets to be that as women, we want to own that and really truly build ourselves from the inside out. And that's how we can create the fulfillment, happiness, and success that we want to create. It starts with feeling worthy enough, feeling that you are enough. So that's really a little bit of my story of why I do what I do and how everything started. So yes, that's what I have to share with you. And I'm really grateful that we're having this conversation, because I feel like it is very necessary, and we can dive deeper on what building self-worth looks like. Because when we talk about self-care, the social media and culture makes it look a certain way, but self-care does not have to look any other way than the way you want it to be. And you get to create that, for yourself, so you can build yourself up.
Wow, I'm listening to a story, Jamila, and I think you were right. Before you came on, Didi, we were saying that a lot of the guests that are coming on is the messages are almost direct, even to myself or even Jamila. But in this last 2 weeks in particular, I resonate with your story quite a bit because I'm at the juxtaposition of creating this business that I want and building it to what level it could become, or be in a survival mindset of, hey, I need to go find work because I need to take care of my 3 kids,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So what you just shared resonated at the core for me because it's like I'm right there now. And it makes sense that if you don't believe you're worthy of, it's
Yeah.
not going to manifest, because manifestation isn't just saying, I would like to achieve XYZ. I love what you said. It's doing the internal work so that
Yeah.
it can manifest on the outside. So
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that. And I'm truly sorry about your friend that you lost, because it's not an easy experience, especially in the manner that it did occur. And as you say, you turned that pain into the pursuit of power and purpose, not only for yourself, but for the greater good of everyone that you now serve. So I want to acknowledge that and say thank you for seeing the possibility and the purpose behind a tragic experience nonetheless.
Yes, absolutely. And honestly, because I have been able to see from that perspective, truly has been my connection to spirituality, right? Like every experience that we are meant to experience is meant to prepare us, right? To prepare us for this conversation, prepare us for like the next storm that is going to occur, in our lives. And yeah, I'm truly grateful, truly, to be sitting here and having this conversation, and not and from a place of, yes, I am who I am today, and I get to do what I get to do today because of all of my experiences, especially the ones that I'm deemed to be most unfortunate, right? Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be so deep in really connecting the dots and really looking at life from a really different perspective when it comes to challenges, if I didn't experience that. So I'm grateful for that experience, and I vow that no one ever has to go through that experience to get that message. I hope that anyone who is going through some things in their personal life right now can already hear from our sentiments today that things get to be better, as long as she's willing to, as long as you're willing to allow yourself the opportunity to grow from these challenges and from the obstacles.
Mm. Yeah, 100% agree with that, Didi. And just to echo Anissa's condolences and sympathy towards the loss of your friend. But you're so true, because our stories and our experiences are so much greater than who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And it has a purpose, and there's always a learning from it that we need to get. And I think that with us trying to get more in touch with our own consciousness and getting further along on that journey allows us um, to create a sense of detachment
Yes.
and allowance, to accept these challenges, to accept the so-called negative experiences that we're going through. But it's also a sign of, observing the progress that we go through, because that, I mean, loss is a terrible thing for anyone to go through. It really is. But and I've seen this in my own experience when I've lost my mum.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a long time ago, and I was much younger. And as I got older, and this was just a couple of years ago when I'd lost my dad, and a few years before that, I'd lost my cousin. But the way that I experienced it, or my outlook of how I wanted that to impact on my life, changed dramatically. Whereas it came from a position of acceptance, rather than when I went through it with my mom, it was from totally a space of anger and anger towards. But at this point in my life, I realized that this is the cycle of life.
Yes.
We go through things like this here, and whether the loss is natural or whether it's, something that's a little bit more tragic
Mhm.
and difficult, um, there are still lessons we need to learn from it. And it's always something that's happening for us and for the greater good. Because here you are sitting on this platform today, sharing your experiences. And as Anissa says, you've taken such a positive stance from this that you've taken it into a direction where you are going to empower people. You are going to help them to change that experience to something that will serve them much better. So, I mean, huge gratitude for you to be here on the platform and to share this with us. And a question that I wanted to ask is that in your bio, it does say that you are on a mission to empower women to live up to their own, to their true potential or their own potential unapologetically. What I'd like to ask you is, why is there a bias towards women? It's natural because we always have this issue of self-worth. I'm just finding more than our male counterparts do.
Yes.
And I just want to get your perspective on that, because this is what I find that I mean, especially with my clients, Anissa, I'm not sure if this is the case with you, but tend to find that a lot of the female clients really battle with a sense of self-worth, more so than the male counterparts.
Yes, so we can go as deep as we would like. Let's just start general first, right? Like biologically, women, we were designed to be nurturers, right? Like we were designed to be at home, to take care of our family, etc., and things like that. Not into, of course, recently when women now are assuming different roles, right? Not only are we taking care of the family, we have opportunity to vote, we have opportunity to work now, we can do both, run the family and run our own businesses. So it's from generations of doing what we're supposed to do, and each of our parents have raised us to be a certain way, and really just knowing where we should stay in our role. And I think with the technology and the opportunities and everything now, most of us women are really just not caught on to the new role and what we're supposed to be doing, and ultimately how to stay more balanced in all of it, right? Because we're actually doing so much more now than women ever have done in the past, right? And because we're being asked to do so much more, it seems like it's a lot more overwhelming. And in that place, if we're not managing ourselves emotionally, it's easier to see that we are actually not as successful because it's challenging, right? Like, for example, I run a business. Honestly, I was running late today because I was staying at my daughter's school meeting with like a parents meeting with the kids. And so I can beat myself up for being late today, or I can be honest with you and say, look, I'm going to be there 10 minutes after and be okay with that. I'm just using that as a real life example. That just happens, right? And I think us women are not compassionate with ourselves because we want to meet outside expectations of what it should be instead of what we're capable of. And I say truly unapologetically because we have to own our own values and what's true and important to us. Like, I own being late today because I value being for my kids, being for my family, and that's okay, right? It doesn't mean that you have to diminish your self-worth because you're late a little bit. Like, it's just life happens. And I think what happens for most us women is we're not really in tune with what we stand for, first and foremost, and we're always chasing for other outside expectations. I know that honestly from firsthand experience, because I did everything right. Another background story is up until when I graduated college, I did everything my parents wanted me to do and landed a corporate job and found myself in a cubicle. And that's when I said, no, this is not my life, right? that was fulfilling everyone else's expectations but my own. And I want freedom. I want to be out and about. I want to be with people. Don't put me in a cubicle. That's like prison. It was like prison for me for like 6 months. And so I believe that is because we're not really owning our value and what it is that we really want. And so therefore we're always working with someone else's expectations. So it's easy to fall into that trap of like, oh, I'm not good enough because I am not this good mom that, are doing X, Y, and Z. And, or I'm a business owner, so I should never be late. I'm just making this up, right? Relevant to our example. But I want to say, first and foremost, is our culture. And it's also how we were raised by our parents and grandparents and things like that. And it's just really getting real with ourselves and like, okay, who I am is the person is perfect and I am enough no matter what I will choose to do. And then secondly, I think for myself for the longest time, that there's always something to learn, about ourselves. And I think if we're coming from that humble place, then we are enough. Like we are worthy with the growth, the success, and everything that, is in store for us. And so that's how, that's my perspective on, how we can build self-worth and truly, from the inside out, and really checking in with ourselves instead of fulfilling, external expectations of how things should be for us.
Dedee, before you came on and we were actually having a chat because I'm not in top form since last week up until now. And what we say is we show up in that way because if you're not feeling well, you're not feeling well. I'm still showing up. But beneath that is also, like you said, self-compassion. And we were talking about self-care and self-love and self-respect more than anything. I think self-respect is underpinned by all of it to get to self-love and self-acceptance, to actually grow your self-worth. But what's interesting is that you are as authentic as we would. We didn't get a chance to do a quick check-in prior like we normally do. We never rehearse these conversations. And so it's just beautiful to hear you speak with the conviction that you are, because that is what we represent in this segment. We don't want anyone to feel like because they were 10 minutes late or technology messes up in the start, it's an
Right.
issue. No. Because this is what life throws us all the time. There are many roadblocks and barriers and obstacles along our path of doing life. And
Yeah.
what's most important, what you said, is that you are in your truth and your value is family. And so you don't just talk the talk and say, this is my value, and then don't do it by showing up rather earlier and then neglecting whatever needed to be taken care of where your kids are concerned. And I think that's the beautiful message I take away from what you shared there is when we're not in our value system, it means that our self-worth is diminished amidst all of the other self adjectives or whatever you want to call it as. And I think that's amazing to be able to recognize that, because when we don't recognize it is when we are in that serial people pleaser, hero, perfectionist, hyperachiever mode, even your corporate environment that you were in.
Yes.
Amazing. It takes a great level of consciousness to say, no, this is not my story. Like you said, your mom and dad's story being divorced was not your story. The same with the corporates. It was not your story, and you made peace with that. So I just wanted to acknowledge that from my side.
Yeah, absolutely, Anissa. And I think we need to get to a point where we have to realize that we don't need anyone's permission. And we don't have to show up from an apologetic perspective, because that's all that we do. We're always finding that we're asking for people to forgive us. Forgive me for being late. Forgive me for being who I am. Forgive me for everything. And you shouldn't. And we should start off from the point of forgiveness towards ourselves. And I think that's where the confidence and the self-worth and the self-love grows from, doesn't it? Is by being kinder to ourselves, forgiving ourselves for all of the expectations that were put on us by everybody but ourselves. So it's literally like just breaking out of that mold.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that this is something that you advocate, because you bringing forward a tribe of women who are so self-confident and who acknowledge the silent power within which they resonate from. Because I always say that, and like you say, we as nurturers, there's nothing that we can't do.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Mm.
If anything, what we're so designed and to do so much more than any creature in the world that I can ever imagine. And I love my male counterparts. I love my husband. I adore my husband. Don't get me wrong. But at the same time, if a male, maybe I am biased, and that's okay here, male and a female in the same exact role, I can tell you that the woman or the female is always going to be more resilient. We were made that way, right? We were
Mm.
made to create, humans in our bodies. We were made to bounce back from it. We just are made to be creators and, nurturers all at the same time. So if we really tap into really our power of who we are as women and really owning that, and I believe that the world is our oyster, and especially I truly believe that every single woman has potential to do anything and to have it all, if she is willing to work on herself. I mean, 100%.
Now I wanna change gear because something that as you're talking and we're talking women and Jamila, your question where you alluded to why women all the time. Let's go to the opposite extreme of the woman who doesn't have, we're talking about the woman that needs to have self-confidence and have self-worth. But let's talk about somebody that's extremely confident, an alpha female or the alpha females, because that in and of itself is also not healthy. And it's not the optimal space to be in because you're describing that we are equal, but what I'm finding in society and in the ecosystems that I operate within is that women are almost trying to go above and beyond what men are doing. So
Oh my
where
gosh.
does that where does that live in the realm of, your self-worth is your net worth? And is it an overextension? Please guide us here on that.
I am really smiling widely. Just literally, I was having this similar conversation with the two moms I was meeting with today. And I was talking
Mm,
about how I was raised as a tomboy, right? I wore pants for most of my life. I was told that flowers are for the cities. You know what I mean? Like, pretend like you don't like pink. For the longest time, I have to say, I was striving to be that alpha woman, like that alpha girl. Like, trust me, that attracted me for the longest time, all the way up into my late 20s, and all of the things. And to be honest, that's why I want to teach women to be authentic to who she is. Because at the end of the day, honestly, I am strong. I am gritty, but I love pink. I love fresh flowers. I love high heels. And I can tell you that, like, with conviction, that I'm proud about that. I would never admit to that in the past. So, and because I am so confident who I am, and I don't care about judgment, or I don't care about, what others think of me, as long as I am in alignment with who I am now, is exactly that. And that conversation needs to be out there, because I had to recover from being a certain way. I was raised to be dominant. I was to like fight, instead of taking a step back and really be calm in certain situations. That is, honestly, it's our upbringing, at least in my experience, and also
mm,
culturally too. Like, we glorify the hustle, right? Like, if you don't have a job and a side hustle, you're lazy. And if you're not working 60, 80 hours, you're lazy, whatever that means for you. And
mm,
it's so interesting. That's how we lose ourselves in the process. And honestly, I embrace it all. Like, and guess what, guys? Women have a masculine side and a feminine side. So are men. Men has a masculine side and a feminine side. Like they have to be in touch with their, their the soft side of things. I don't know if you heard this line. Real men wear pink, right? Like it's kind of like that. Like, they have to be sensitive, to be caring and nurturing and loving just as much. And I think that culturally, because we're now, again, women are working now, we are assuming a more masculine role, it's easy to get lost in the role and allow a role, whether you're a VP of a company, things like that. Some of my clients, are VPs to companies, and where they feel like they have to be a certain way at work. That is not true. You can still show up in the boardroom confident and feminine all at the same time. And that's what I'm talking about, is being truly connected to who you are as the person, whether you need to be stronger in a certain situation or you need to be more feminine in your own skin, right? And that's what I'm talking about in terms of self-worth, really knowing who you are, as a person, not like really, again, not how you were raised and what is expected of you, but really knowing who you are as a person and really embracing it all. That's my piece.
Love it. I love it. I like the part that she says men are masculine and feminine too. And I was just having a chat to a friend earlier on, and I said, I'm finding myself attracted. I'm single, by the way. So I'm finding myself attracted to men that are in touch with their feminine side, that can connect at a soul level, that is willing to say, I'm afraid, or I have fear, or I'm not in a good space. I find that pretty appealing right now. Not the man that needs to be this egoic muscle man and always in top form or controlling it all. And it's interesting that because I'm generally mostly in my masculine, it's nice to be able to see that in a man, and that we could potentially balance each other out, whoever that man is going to be, Jamila.
Yeah.
I agree 100%. And going back to what you were saying earlier in terms of the alpha woman, right? Like there's no balance in that, right? Like we need to be able to balance that too and embrace that part, of ourselves. And men, it's actually find it really sexy that women are independent. You know what I mean? Like, and we can take care of ourselves, but ultimately that's how a relationship is going to work. It's like we are independent humans coming together. It's not a codependent relationship, right? Like we grow together, we live each other up, and we build something better together, and not the other way around, or we're clinging on someone. And no, like that is not healthy. Sorry, Jamila, I think you were.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think it's very important for us to understand that it's not a competition either. It's not who can outdo the other. It's just about creating that balance and about sitting comfortably in knowing who you are. And like you say, loving who you are. And you can be a tomboy, and I similarly grew up tomboy. I mean, I was like my father's son, and fishing with him, bicycles, skateboards, this, that, and the other. That's who I was, running barefoot around, being in the sun all day. And your typical girly girl wouldn't have liked that, but that's okay also. So it's okay in whichever way you're showing up, and it's okay for you to still love the heels. I do as well. And it doesn't change, who you are, because you're coming from a place of self-acceptance. And Anissa, just to your point, we were just having that chat about understanding when to say no and when to start taking care of yourself. That is so important to do, because you've got to respect yourself in that way. And yes, we are capable as women to hold all these different roles and to be great at them and successful at them, and to constantly keep on ticking the boxes to be resilient. But we have to also be mindful that it's not a toxic resilience, that it's a positive resilience. And in that, knowing when to stop and say, listen, I need my time out. I know that I can balance a 27-hour day, but at this point, my body needs for me to take a break. And
That's very powerful, powerful stuff, Jamila, because Didi, we were saying before you joined, like I don't know when to stop, I'm like I said, in my masculine. And so that's quite a powerful realization and that you brought to the table now for me. Understand and be discerning when it's toxic, when it's not actually going to serve. But Didi mentioned earlier on that it's conditioning, it's beliefs. And so the programming is so deeply ingrained that it's not easy to make that shift until we're having conversations like this, where it brings a greater awareness. And maybe intuitively we know it's not right. But until you've mentioned toxic resilience, that hit me to the core completely. Because I'm known to be radically resilient. But at what point is it overused? So thank you for that, Jamila.
yeah, and Anissa, in our book, All Wellness book, that is what my chapter was about, because we have this perception of what success looks like. And when I came out of my divorce, I was adamant that I was going to be successful in in my own mindset. And for me, that was to never say no to anything, to be successful from a professional perspective, to be a great mom. And there were all these little checklists that I had to tick in order for me to be seen as successful from a societal perspective. But what was it is important to me? We never ever ask ourselves these questions. And as a result, all you do is end up isolating yourself, being alone, because you're too afraid to ask for help. You don't want to let up that, what, you might be in a position that requires you to ask for help, and you end up literally with burnout.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, at the end of the day, like both of you ladies said, right? Like it's important to know your values. I like to call them non-negotiables and literally operate by that. So for example, my 4 F's are, the first and foremost is faith, secondly is fitness, family, and then fulfillment. And my day and schedule and what my day to day and even month to month looks like is exactly that. It doesn't deviate. It may shift from doing this one thing and the next things. And as you can see, family first. That's why I was at family before fulfillment, right? Like before I got here with you. So us women, I really want us to be clear on what our non-negotiables are. And because what gets me grounded and energized and purposeful and intentional with my work is the faith piece, right? Like I have my meditation practice in the morning and I work out in the morning. So because those parameters are already put into my system, I don't deviate from them because they are my non-negotiables. That gets me to show up, 100% every single day the way I'm supposed to. So if we can do that, like define what your non-negotiables are or what you need to operate to be really healthy, then it's really easy to catch ourselves when I'm like, wait, I missed my workout. Wait, that's why I was cranky with my kids. Wait, that's what happens, right? So, because it's like a cycle, right? And that's honestly my foundation for all of it. It's like really knowing my priorities, my non-negotiables, and it's very easy for me to catch when something is missing. That's when I know, okay, I need to take a step back. And we're very also religious with our time off in our family schedule as well. My kids gets a week off at the end of each quarter, and we do family time. We go on vacation. My husband and I take at least, he travels a lot. So we do date nights at a certain time. We spend the time with the kids. So what I am saying is you get to create your life the way you want to, and it gets to feel good. It gets to be good. And right away when things are not working out is when you're just in the autopilot mode and you're just checking the boxes and doing what you're supposed to or what you should do, instead of, do you want to do that? Do you want to do that? Is that your true desire, that you wanted to be there at that meeting? Do you want to be on that interview? Do you want to, go out and go to that party? Don't say yes because you were invited. Do you want to see the people that are going to be there? You know?
What powerful, powerful words there. And it all stems from actually knowing yourself, right? Knowing who you are and showing up as that
100%.
irrespective of what anyone has to say. And that the importance is what you think of you. So that's wonderful. Tell us a little bit about imposter syndrome because huge it's a huge concept when it comes to lack of self-worth,
Yeah,
um,
Mm-hmm.
showing up for who you truly are.
I
I think
find
we
it
can
a
have an episode on that. Okay,
yeah,
we
I
can have a
find
whole episode.
I know. It's such a modernized concept, right? Like uh when we're feeling a certain way, when it's not all positive or rainbows and unicorn, we like to name it, whatever it is. It happens to be imposter syndrome, right? But I could even take it and simplify it as the feeling of, do you both ladies drive cars, right? In South Africa, right? Do you remember the first time you were trying to learn how to drive? It was a disaster, right? Okay, when do you turn? What is like, where's the brakes? And that's not even saying that you're driving a manual car. That's like ridiculous. Like, I don't drive a manual car. I'm not gonna try learning in this lifetime. But that feeling of like, am I really ever going to get this? Like, I'm like, that's an example of imposter syndrome, but we just didn't name it that, right? So I don't know. I just don't allow, honestly, the minute it came out, I was like, what is this about? Like, this is just how you feel when you're learning something new. This is how you feel when you're stepping into a new territory. Why name it something so now then you define that and now you're paralyzed by the characteristics of it instead of like, yeah, I don't know that. But guess what? I'm gonna get better, right? Like can you imagine if my 4-year-old, like when he was like 1.5 trying to walk, and I'm like, oh, you have imposter syndrome. You're not gonna ever walk. It's, I don't know. Ladies, like I definitely use it as a starter of a conversation, but I always break it down to those examples that I just shared with you. It's like we get to embrace all of discomfort. And especially when it comes to uncertainty, when it comes to really knowing ourselves and how we operate and embrace all of it. It's just I mean, for me, I just find it super exciting at this point in my life. I wrote a whole book about being an overcomer and using fear as a catalyst for your own success. So when I'm really uncomfortable is when I know I'm growing, right? Like when I'm afraid, oh, that's the one thing that perhaps I need to do, right? And so I want to say, perhaps really looking in as imposter syndrome as a thing that is going to hold you back. I want to entertain you guys just to see if you can look at it something like, oh, this is my edge, right? Like this is my next level. Like who do I need to be, right? So that I can still embrace all the sensations and all of the things and do it anyway. Because that's how we're going to grow. That's how we're going to learn, to fail forward is what we call it, right? Like the faster you fail, guess what? The faster you're going to be better at something. I also am a trained yoga instructor. I like to share this story too. Oh my gosh, the first time I taught a class, it was a disaster. It was a train wreck. Okay. But after having taught 1,000 classes and over, I'm confident. So confident doesn't come with a concept of like, I'm going to be confident today. No, it's like you got to do the work. You got to do the reps if you want muscles, right? You have to do the work. And imposter syndrome is always going to be there. Guess what? It's just like fear. It's never going to go away. If you're willing to work on yourself, there's always that next level. So don't name it that. I would say name it something else that is actually going to be productive for you. Because imposter syndrome, just like anything else, I always feel like it has a negative connotation on it. Like it makes you feel a certain way less than versus
Yes.
a more empowering place. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like I don't know. What would I call it? I would call it like excitement or like, ooh, that's a challenge. Yeah, I don't know how to do that. Let's figure out what do I need to do so that way I can feel more comfortable. An
I,
example could be, right? Like an example could be like, I honestly, 10 years ago, if you asked me to have this type of conversation and like be a speaker, oh my gosh, like I'd rather die. Okay. And guess what? People rather die than public speak. Okay. That's the biggest fear in the world. But guess what? I didn't say, oh, I have imposter syndrome. I'm like, okay, maybe I have to know what I'm going to talk about. Maybe I have to prepare more. So honestly, for my very first maiden honor speech, it took me 6 months to prep, ladies, for a 6-minute speech. But guess what? I did it. I didn't call it imposter syndrome. I was like, oh, I've never spoken before. Oh my gosh. And you name it. I record the thing. I listened to the thing. I read the thing. I memorized the thing. Like, that's what I did. So rather than, oh, maybe I have imposter syndrome and stop there, because usually that's what happens, rather than, okay, what do I need to do here? Where's my learning edge? Like, what do I need to be doing? So that way I can feel more prepared and confident.
I love that. I love the positive spin that you put on it, because in some respects, society does this to you, right? They literally brainwash you into thinking that you can't. And when you look at a young child, for example, I mean, look at our kids, Anissa, when they were little, there's nothing that they couldn't do.
Yes.
From one day to the next, they had this confidence in knowing that I'm going to be a brain surgeon, I'm going to be an astronaut, I'm going to be. Nothing would stop them. But then you go through schools and society and all the rest of it, and keep on imposing these negative things that you cannot do it, you can't do this. And this is the thing about life, is that we tend to sometimes think that you go to school, you study a certain profession, you come out, and that's where you are meant to be, slot into that box, and you're meant to stay there for the rest of your life. But that's not who we are as human beings. We've spoken about this over and over again, about how we're not static beings, we're constantly changing, and we have the ability to rewrite our story at any point and any stage in our lives. And it's so refreshing to hear this from you. And I wish that it would be broadcast out there, all the time. And especially to young women who feel that they have to fit into this box, because you don't. And Anissa, you testament of that. I'm testament of that. Where we were 10, 15, 20 years ago, where we are now, we've metamorphosized into so many different types of women, into so many different career choices, that I think for me, what I feel now is that each and every one of us has the ability to be unstoppable and to do absolutely anything that we put our minds to doing. So thank you for putting that beautiful, positive spin on imposter syndrome, because yes, it's something new that I'm trying, and I can and will do it.
Exactly. Thank you.
Now,
thank you for getting it. Look, it is true, right? You really think about it.
Absolutely. Listen, ladies, we can probably carry on this conversation. I know we've reached the end. I know we have, but I want to just summarize from my side, and then I would love to ask you, Dedee, what would you give the audience in terms of our theme? How do you move forward with grit, grace, and gratitude, shifting from that grudge state? But for me, I want to summarize saying that you are the epitome for me of somebody that learns to live in healthy, optimal resilience or grit. And you do come across very graceful, unapologetic. I love that part. You're just in your essence, and you embody this not needing to be fitting into a label, a form, or a construct. And I think that's the key message out of everything that you so passionately shared. And I was smiling ear to ear there, because it's like, yes, 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 to every bit of what you were saying, because we cannot be conditioned or stuck in the labels, the constructs, and the forms that either societal norms or family or political or social norms are dictating we need to be. And maybe we can disassociate from these labels by reframing it. That's something you beautifully do. And I think that's when I looked at your bio, the cognitive behavioral stuff is around that reframing, because if we reframe, we're able to better mirror that within ourselves and for others. so that others can kind of walk the journey alongside. So I'm going to leave it to you and Jamila to close off with your nuggets. And then Jamila, if you wouldn't mind closing out and saying thank you to the guests.
Well, first and foremost, ladies, thank you to you both for having this platform, for being the voice for all of us, for all of the women around the world. And your work is so tremendous, and you never know how far the ripples are going to go. But only if one person is willing to do whatever it takes to change and transform her life and ultimately do this one thing, which is my nugget for all of us, including myself. It's a reminder for myself every single day, is to love yourself first. In that place, you can do anything. You can have it all. That would be my last words. Thank you, ladies.
Wow.
Thank you.
Such constructive and positive, beautiful feedback from you, Dedee. Like Anissa says, you know what, we could continue talking about this for hours on end. But I absolutely love what you do. It really resonates with me. I'm just so grateful for people like you who are there to empower women and to progressively push them forward in their lives and to encounter and take anything that they put their minds to doing and to be successful at it. And I just want to close off with saying that your net worth will never surpass your self worth. To grow in wealth, you must first grow in how you value yourself. And this is something that we're constantly learning throughout our lives. And it's not to say that, you get to a certain point and you've been on this journey and you haven't expressed any of this. At any point in your life, you can choose to change your story and empower yourself. So thank you, everyone, for being here and sharing this hour with us. Thank you, Dedee, so much. Anissa, as always, you are here no matter what, irrespective of what's going on around you. So we're very, very grateful for that. And Dedee, if you could just please stay on for a short bit after we end the live, just to do a little debrief. And just once again, thank you for showing up, and we really, truly appreciate you.
I just want to tell the Instagram people, because you can't see my Instagram page, but thank you for those that did join. And Oh Natural says, yes, love yourself first. So thank you for that. And on that note, I'm going to end. We'll see you again. Oh, you won't see me next week. I'm going to be doing my TEDx. Jamila
Yeah.
will be holding the fort next week, because I won't be able to hold it next week. So just in case I forgot
Yeah.
to mention that.
And just
You
before you
won't
go,
see me between. Yeah.
we wishing you all the best. Obviously, I'll speak to you, but from everyone here, I think I can speak on all our listeners' behalf, and Dedee as well. You're welcome to wish Anissa well on her talk. We're so proud of you, and I can't wait to listen to it. So well done. You just move from strength to strength, and you really such a pleasure to watch and inspiration to so many out there.
Thank you. Thank you. No pressure about the recording, rehearsing, listening to yourself and preparing. I'm in the midst of that this weekend again.
Yes.
Thank you, Jamila.
You've got this,
I'll end.
Anissa. You got this. And
Thank
guess
you,
what?
Dee.
You would not have been selected. You have not been slotted if you were not made for it. So congratulations, and go what they say to get on stage, right? Go break a leg.
Thank you. Let me end.